the guy with the... Hello? Oh, it's on. Good evening, everyone. I think we'll get started. Feel free to move up closer. This is meant to be, see, this lady here has done it right. It's meant to be an intimate conversation. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah, come on in. We're just getting started. Yeah, feel free to sit next to someone you don't know. That's also the idea of tonight. So welcome, everyone, and thank you so much to Rutgers Presbyterian Church for hosting us here tonight. My name is Shiri Orion. I'm the executive director of the American Friends of the Parent Circle, and we're honored to be here. The Parent Circle is an organization made up of more than 800 bereaved families. All of those bereaved families are either Palestinian or Israeli, and everyone has lost a loved one to the conflict. And we always say in our organization that we're one of the few organizations that does not want any new members. But sadly, the membership continues to grow, and even more so since October 7th, 2023, we've had more than 100 new families join the organization. One of those members is here with us tonight, Liora Elon, and I'll introduce Liora and Mohammed Abu Jafar in just a minute. We're here with 4 members. The other 2 members are sitting here in the front row. We're here for a whole week of events and meetings and dialogues with people because this conflict has really, we've done a really good job at importing this conflict into our own communities, and this has become one of the most divisive, most polarizing issues in the United States and in the world. And so when you hear our members speaking tonight, I want to ask you to put down your social media posts for tonight, put down your flags, your posters, and listen from your heart. And I'll tell you a little bit more later about a program that we created actually that's called Listening from the Heart. You're going to hear 2 very personal narratives tonight, and that's really the essence of the work that our organization does. We share the personal narratives of bereaved members with the Israeli and Palestinian public, but also internationally, in order to share the human side of the story, right? We can talk about borders, and we can talk about Jerusalem, and we can talk about ceasefires. And this moment is an incredible moment of opportunity, and that we have a very fragile ceasefire. And during this moment, where it is very fragile, we have to do everything that we can to make sure that it holds and to make sure that it turns into a lasting and sustainable peace. And so you being here tonight is part of doing that, and so I want to thank you for being here. To my left is Liora Elon. She is from Kibbutz Kfar Aza, which is a kibbutz very close to the Gaza Strip. Liora has been living there for more than 40 years. And Liora actually knew the Parent Circle before October 7th. She participated in one of our programs and was a peace activist. And sadly, after October 7th, she became a member. And it's been during this trip that she met Mohammed. This is Mohammed Abu Jafar. Mohammed is from Jenin in Palestine in the West Bank. He lost his brother many years ago, which led him to join the Parent Circle and also led him to study nursing. And Mohammed has been living in Washington, D.C., studying at Georgetown University, which is the university that helped us develop Listening from the Heart. He's been doing that for the past year, and I'm so grateful. I was just telling Mohammed that he's here with his new baby and his wife, and where it's much safer than Janine. But I know that that's very complicated for you to be here as well. So I hope we can hear about that. I'm going to turn it over to Leora and Mohammed to share their stories, and then we'll have some time at the end for questions and answers. So just hold your questions until the end and silence your cell phones. I think we have about an hour together tonight. You have your own mic.
I have my own mic, yes. Can you hear me? Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Leora. I'm a mother of 4. I'm a grandmother of 7 grandchildren. And first of all, I want to thank you for coming here. It means a lot to me. Because once you listen to Muhammad's story and to my story, you become witness, you bear witness, and this means a lot to me, that our story is heard in our voices and through our eyes. This is very important to me, and for this I want to thank you for coming here and listening to us. So, as she said, I'm a member of Kibbutz Kfar Aza for the last 45 years. My 4 children grew up there, 5 of my 7 grandchildren grew up there. And on this evening of the 6th of October, we were all there in Kfar Aza, 6 out of my 7 grandchildren, my kids, and we were having a lovely dinner at my son's place. After dinner, 2 of my granddaughters, Gali and Mika, then they were 15 years old, beginning of sophomore year. They've decided to come and have sleepover at my place because they're cousins and they're very good friends, and they always love to have a sleepover at my place. Once Mika came to visit, and Gali lives in Kfar Aza. So we went home, my 2 granddaughters, myself, my eldest daughter, Mika's mother, and my youngest son, who lives in Jerusalem and came to visit. We went home, and just before we went to sleep, my son, he saw a set of chef knives that I just got as a present from somebody, and he asked me for one of those knives, and so Saturday morning, 6:30 in the morning, we found ourselves in the safe room, 5 people with a chef knife, locked for many hours. 6:30 in the morning, Saturday morning, there was an alarm that went on, and a lot of missiles flying above our heads, and a lot of shooting, and straight ahead we went into the safe room, we closed the door, we closed the iron window, and we stayed there waiting for it to be over, because for the last 20 years, that's what we knew. I mean, there are missiles flying over us, there's an alarm, we have 15 seconds to go into the safe room, wait until it's over, and then go out and continue with our lives, but this is not what happened that time. The missiles went on and on and on, and the alarm on, and we couldn't leave the safe room. And at a certain point, Gali, my granddaughter, gets a message from her brother in his own house, telling him, Gali, father is out fighting because there are terrorists in a kibbutz. He told us to let you know and to stay in the safe room and close the door. And Gali, my granddaughter, texts him back, Ro'i, to her brother, Ro'i, we're not joking about things like that. I'll deal with you when I get home. It's not what happened. Time went on, and Ro'i texts her again, Gali, it's not funny. Father is out there fighting terrorists, and there are terrorists in the kibbutz. Stay in the safe room and close the door. And that's what we did. We stayed in the safe room and closed the door. By that time, I wasn't even scared, because I was imagining, okay, terrorists in the kibbutz, 3, 4, 5, and we have a first response team. My son Tal is the commander of the response team, the first response team, and he'll deal with it, no problem. And through that time, I'm getting messages on WhatsApp groups of the kibbutz. People are asking, where is the police? Where is the army? Why isn't anybody answering our messages? What's going on here? I can hear shooting. I hear voices in Arabic. I'm scared. What's going on? I'm wounded. I'm injured. I need an ambulance. Please come, save me, help. And I'm still thinking to myself, why are people in panic? What's the matter with them? What's wrong with them? I'm not yet realizing what's going on. My son Ron is looking at Gali's phone, my granddaughter's phone, because he does not live in the kibbutz, so he doesn't have the WhatsApp that we have. And in a minute, he gets to me, and he looks at my phone, and he sees this message that tells us to hold the handle of the safe door's room, because I don't know if you know that, but you cannot lock the safe room because you can't lock the safe room. You have to hold the door if you want to prevent somebody to come in. And so he's looking at my phone, and he gets pale, and his sister, my eldest daughter, sees him, and she gets to the door with him, and they both look at my phone, and they both realize that terrible things are going on. And from that moment on, they were both holding the door for the next 35 hours in turns. 1 hour, he's holding the door, and his sister is resting on the bed, and then they change. By 8 o'clock, we already heard about the first murdered person in the kibbutz, a dear friend of my children. And by that time, we were beginning to hear bombing and shooting in my neighborhood. And soon enough, around 9:30, we heard a huge glass shattering noise and a lot of screaming and yelling in Arabic. And people are trying to open the door, and both my kids are holding the handle. He's holding with two hands, and she, one hand on his hands, and on the other hand, she takes the chef knife that was there, and she's aiming through the door, and she's thinking to herself, I didn't know that when it was happening, she told me afterwards, that she was thinking to herself that the guy standing outside the door, she didn't know that there were many of them, but the guy standing outside the door will have a helmet and will have a vest, and so she needs to aim to a neck, because maybe if she aims to the neck and she stabs in the neck, she can save us or herself, or at least us, if not herself. That's what crossed her mind through that time. But that wasn't for a long time that they were fighting on the door. They didn't succeed opening the door at that time, because by some miracle, a few soldiers got to the neighborhood, and there was a huge fight between the terrorists and the army, the IDF, and so they had to leave the door and start fighting, and that fight took a long time. And by 11 o'clock Saturday, we heard voices in Hebrew in the house, only to find out that the IDF people were losing. Already 2 of them were dead, and 5 of them were injured. And since the door was already smashed and open, the glass door from before, so what they did was they brought all the injured people inside my house to the living room, and my house became a field hospital for those who were injured during that battle. 2 of them were already dead. Third one died 13 months afterwards from his wounds. So they started treating the wounded people while their friends are smashing all the windows of the house, shooting out to prevent the many terrorists that were there to throw hand grenades or shoot inside the house. So this is a situation now. There is a huge, the voices were horrible to listen to the yelling and screaming of the wounded people, and the whole battle was all around the place, all around the house. Hand grenades were thrown, RPGs were shot, and guns were firing, and the noise was horrible, but we didn't open the safe room's door because they told us not to open the door. So we just yelled at them and told them to take anything that they need from the house and asked them whether they need help, and they say no, just don't open the door, so we didn't. So that took some time until they finished dealing with helping the wounded ones. And then we asked them to open for a minute the door for us so we can go to the restroom, because we haven't been there since Friday evening before we went to sleep. And, you know, we needed to go. So they opened the door for us, and that's when we saw the bloodshed that was in the house, all the wounded soldiers and the dead soldiers that were there. And one by one, we didn't even run we had to walk very carefully inside the house. We went to the bathroom one by one, and I was thinking about the two girls, 15 years old, what they had to see there in the house, but one by one we went and we came back. And then two soldiers came inside the house, inside the safe room, asking us where they were, because they've never been in the kibbutz before and they don't know their way around, and they don't even know where to go and where to fight. So the next thing that happened was that Gali, my granddaughter, 15 years old, stood in front of them, opened for them a Google map, took the guy's phone, the soldier's phone, and started sending him locations of people who needed help and needed rescue, and that they were wounded, or that people that we didn't hear from them for the last couple of hours, and we don't know what's wrong with them. So that's what she was doing for the next 48 hours. She was texting the soldiers, actually commanding them or telling them where to go, where to fight. And took them another couple of hours to find a vehicle to evacuate the wounded people and the two dead people away from the house. And they just went on fighting to where Gali sent them, and were alone again. So the shooting went on and on and on, and at about 3 o'clock there was no longer Wi-Fi in the house, and out of 5 phones, only Gali's phone was working by some miraculous way. That was very scary, but that wasn't enough. By 6 o'clock in the evening, the electricity went off, and that was a very scary moment, because as long as darkness, as much as it was dark, the energies went down, and it was much more frightening. And since there was a closed metal steel window and steel door, we hardly could see one another in that darkness, and the energies were very low, and we were without food, without water, hardly breathing, and a lot of shooting going around outside the house, inside the house. I can tell you that I remember the huge noise of what I knew later was a hand grenade that was thrown at the window of the safe room and did not explode. I know that because when I came back to the kibbutz after, I saw a big sign that was meant for the army to know that there is a hand grenade that didn't explode under that window for them to remove it. But I still remember the noise of the clashing of, iron to iron. As the night went on, we were afraid of losing connection because we had no way to charge Gali's phone now that there is no electricity. That was the only one that was working. And Gali kept sending locations from what she was getting from the WhatsApp of people in the kibbutz. She was still sending locations for the soldiers to go on fighting. But sometimes during the night, Mika, my other granddaughter, all of a sudden asked Gali, do you remember the cable that you brought when we went to grandma's to have a sleepover, with that cable we can charge your phone with our phones to transfer our batteries to your phone. And that's what we did. We started doing that because we had no electricity to charge Gali's phone. So one by one, we transferred our batteries into Gali's phone. That was a very hard thing to do, but we needed to do that. Because as long as I had my phone, I was hoping that there will be electricity again, there will be Wi-Fi again, and I kept hoping. But once I transferred my battery into Gali's phone, that was letting go of any hope for change, as to some sort of control that I had over the situation. The night was long, and it went on and on and on with all this shooting. And Sunday morning, at about 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning, again, screaming and yelling in Arabic inside the house. And again, there were people trying to open the door. And again, my two kids, holding the handle of the door with both their hands. And my daughter is holding the knife, trying to aim to the neck. And we were so afraid. And after such a long night, and it's already morning, and we're still there, and we don't know whether somebody knows that we're there. And time doesn't go away, but I need to tell you that we were not, even though we didn't eat and we didn't drink, you don't feel hunger, you don't feel thirst, you don't feel tiredness. I don't even know if I slept or didn't sleep during the night, because the whole body was in the mode of survival, just staying alive, because we didn't know whether we'll get out of there or not. It wasn't even up to us. As time went on, the next thing that happened was that at around 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon, a soldier calls Gali and tells her, Gali, listen, we understand that you weren't rescued, that you're still there, but I need to know what's your condition. There are a lot of terrorists around your neighborhood, and we can't get to you, but we're doing everything that we can to try and get you, but what's your situation? And this girl, 15 years old, tells him, I remember that phone, she's telling him, listen, we are okay by now, we're not wounded, we're not injured, but in the other neighborhood of the young adults, where they live, there is a massacre going on. You have to go there and try to save whoever you can still save there, because they're dying over there. But please, please, please don't forget us too. And I remember that phone call because I remember that I had two voices in my head at the same time. One voice saying, what is this girl? Where does she find the strength? Where does it come from? And the other voice was the urge to grab the phone and say, no, she's mistaken, come now. We don't have food, we can't breathe. But I didn't. One of the things that I understood during that time that we were there is that it's not enough to save your body, you need to save your soul. And saving a soul means that you don't get mad at the people out, because if you burst at them, you lose energy, and we couldn't afford to lose energy. So I didn't say anything, I was just quiet and went on. And at about 3 o'clock afternoon, another group of soldiers came into the safe room and asked us, how many are you? And we said, we're 5. And the next thing that happened, they closed the door at us and said, don't open to anybody. And we were looking at each other. It's 3 o'clock, Sunday afternoon, what's going on? But they came again to the door and asked us again, how many are you? And we said, we're 5. And they said, are there any other citizens in the house? And we said, no. So again, they closed the door at us and said, don't open to anybody. And then they came again and asked us, are you sure there aren't any other citizens in the house? And we said, no, it's only us. And then the commander said to us, listen, behind the closed door in the next room inside the house, there are terrorists hiding right now. But we're going to get you out of here anyway. By that time, we didn't even understand what they're saying to us. We just were happy to see them. And what happened was that they formed a wall of soldiers standing side by side between us and the glass that was, the door that was not there anymore. And like 8 or 10 soldiers were standing side by side, making a wall between us and the rest of the house, while they were facing us, while behind them, there were already soldiers shooting inside the house to prevent those terrorists that were hiding in the next door to open the door and throw a hand grenade or shoot at us. So they told us, don't take anything, just run out of the house as low as you can. And they ran with us and kept shooting all around us to save us from the terrorists that were still in the neighborhood. And so we ran out of the house. And when I was out of the house, I saw a tank standing on my lawn, in my garden. And the first thought that I had in my mind was, what the hell is a tank doing on my grass? It's ruining the grass. Maybe, I don't know what I was thinking, but after 35 hours, that's the first thought that crossed my mind. And then they made us run to another house, to my neighbor's house that was already evacuated from the people who lived there, but a group of soldiers were staying there. So they let us be with the soldiers until they could evacuate us from this house. But the tank that was ruining my grass, once we left the house with the soldiers, they aimed their cannon of the tank into my house, and they blew it and collapsed the whole house on the terrorists that were hiding in there. So when I left my house, I left it with my clothes on, and that was the end of everything that I owned in the world. I mean, there was nothing left for my house and nothing left for everything that I had inside the house. So we were staying at this, in my neighbor's house for another 45 minutes until they could bring a vehicle to get us out of the kibbutz. And eventually they took us out of the kibbutz. And when I stepped out of the vehicle that drove us away from the kibbutz, the first thing that I saw when I got off the vehicle, I saw Gali's mother, my son's wife, and she was walking towards us because she didn't see her daughter since Friday evening, and since she didn't have any electricity or Wi-Fi, she didn't have any idea whether her daughter was still alive or not. But when we walked towards one another, we looked in each other's eyes, and we both realized at the same time that neither of us heard from her husband, my son, Tal, since Saturday morning when he left the house to fight the terrorists. And we both realized that that's not a good sign. And yeah, unfortunately, we were right. My son, Tal, was the commander of the civilian first response team that was supposed to hold the situation until the army arrives. But he stepped out of the house before 7 o'clock in the morning. He got to the armory house, he opened it, he grabbed the weapon, and he ran towards to fight. It was the terrorists that were invading the kibbutz. He was ambushed for something like 40 or 50 terrorists, and he got shot, and he got very badly injured. But while being injured, he still commanded the civilian defense team, telling them that there are a lot of terrorists in the kibbutz dressed with IDF uniforms, so don't get confused. And he told them that to deal with them first and only then come deal with handle the wounded people. And on his last breath, just before he was killed, he managed to call our neighbors in the next kibbutz and warn them. And in the next kibbutz, nobody was injured and nobody was hurt or dead. And I find some comfort in the fact that in his death, he managed to save a lot of lives. I can tell you, Tal was 46 when he was killed. He was a father of 3 children. Gali, who is now 18, in her last year of high school. Her brother Ro'i is in his 11th grade. And his youngest son, Otem, is now in his 8th grade. Tal was a man of the sea. He was a skipper. He loved the sea. He was working in the harbor in Israel. And he was a very funny person on one hand and a very serious person on the other hand. He was part of the board, the management of the kibbutz. He was really a great father to his kids. And I can also tell you that Kibbutz Kfar Aza, my community, lost 64 people, all dear members of the community. 19 were kidnapped to Gaza. The last 2 ones of the living ones came back last week on Monday. Gali and Zivi Berman, 28 years old by now. And there are many people who were wounded, either while fighting the terrorists or while trying to hold the door when the terrorists just shot the door from outside and hurt them. And right now we're trying to get our lives back. And as a community, we are refugees in our own country. We cannot go back to the kibbutz because it's almost ruined and we need to rebuild it. And right now we're living as a community in another place in trailers, all of us, like 500 people out of almost 800. And we still hope to resettle in Kfar Aza, and I hope the kibbutz will flourish again in the next years. Thank you for listening.
We hope so too. This is what I mean when I say we don't want any more members in our organization. I'm so sorry for your loss, Leora.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing with us. There's so many other stories like Leora's from October 7th, but we all know that this story did not begin on October 7th, nor did it begin on October 6th. And Mohammed, your story began many years ago in Jenin. Will you share with us?
Yeah, sure. I'm good? Yeah, okay. First of all, I lived my whole life in my city, Jenin, for 36 years old. As she mentioned, I came here last year to study a master's in global health at Georgetown. During my whole life, I lived under occupation, so all my stories is related to the situation where I lived in the north of the West Bank. My first interaction with Israelis begins before I have awareness. As my mother told me the story, I was 3 or 6 months old, and one of the tear gas from Israeli soldiers went to our house, inside our house from the window. And we are a small Palestinian family, 5 boys and 4 sisters, so she started to grab us and running from the tear gas. And believe me, when I grow up and I was in a closed place with a tear gas, it's much, much worse from a tear gas in the street. It's the ultimate tear gas because it's the pressure is different. So when she came to take me from my crib, she didn't find me, and she get out to the streets looking for me and what's happened to me. And she knew from our neighbors that one of our neighbors went out from the window and took me to the hospital. I spent 3 days in the intensive care unit, suctioning all the gases from my lungs. This is a story that my mother told me, and it's happened in 1988 in the first Intifada. After that came Oslo. I was 6 years old. I never met Israelis. There is no military jeeps. There is no army in Jenin till 2002, when the Israeli army entered Jenin and the whole West Bank. In 2002 April, they entered Jenin, and after that, they started to have this recurrent entering the city with the tanks, and they're doing it like every week. You don't know when. They just start and they just enter the city and they start to shoot to announce that there is curfew and everyone should have to go home. So we got used to this situation for 6 months. And the schools back then, there was 2 shifts because there was a lack of schools building. They were demolished, so the same school, they used it for 2 schools. So there is now morning and evening shift. And this evening, my brother Ahmed, he was 16 years old, and I was 14 back then. He was in the training ground in the school, and they start to hear the shooting, and this is the announcement that it's end of the school. So all the school block with thousands of kids just running across the street, the main street, to run to the neighborhood. And it was a big chaos. And one of the streets, one of the bullets hits my brother's neck. It was in the street and rebound to his neck, and he got injured. And he was on the ground. And after that, many people tried to help him. The tank started to do circle around his body and start to shoot on the ground to prevent anyone from helping him. 12 persons got injured. 2 of them are Associated Press journalists. And 3 years ago, I went to their archive and I saw the video from the hospital where they have videotaping of the journalists that got injured while helping my brother. So this incident happened in a next door neighborhood. So there was a lot of eyewitnessing, kids, school teachers, also the people from their houses, the windows, they saw everything. So it's changed our neighborhood forever. And it was the first person that got killed in our neighborhood. It was my brother. It was so traumatizing that one of my cousins decided to take revenge, and he killed a settler near Jenin, and he got killed after that from the Israeli army. I lost 2 cousins and 3 school peers in this second Intifada period. And after what happened to my friends and for my brother, I decided to study nursing and to try to help people, especially in a situation like this. In 2006, 2007, I started a nursing degree. After that, when I graduated, I started to work in hospitals in Nablus and in Ramallah. And before I started to go there, the Israeli army entered our house the same day that they killed my brother. They took the house as they called it sniper points. They take the whole house and they put us in the small room. They took it for one night. Then they took our neighbor house. They keep moving from one house to another. So this was my second interaction with the Israelis. After that, when I worked to Ramallah, I interact with the Israelis through the checkpoints. So I was always meeting Israelis checkpoints, yelling at me, ordering us to do things, go here, stop here, stand here. I never, I've been always on the other side of the gun, so I really never talked to an Israelis, and I didn't have my father privilege that he worked in Haifa for 20 years, so he knows Israelis. He worked and talked with Israelis. For me, the Israelis were the Star Wars troopers with their white outfits. I never meet, any human being that is Israeli. So in 2016, when I was coming back home from Ramallah to my house, my family house for the weekend, I saw two Israeli women sitting in our house. I said hi and entered my room. And when they get out, I asked my mother why there's two Israeli women sitting in our house. She told me they are from the Bereaved circle, and they talked about their personal story and loss. And we talked about personal story and loss, and we cried together. So I said sarcastically, is this kind of a group therapy that you're doing, you're talking to each other and they cry? She told me, no, they have a lot of programs, and one of them is the narrative program that Lior was participating in 2012. And she told me, you should go. I told her yes, this kind of yes, that we say to our mothers to let us go. And I went out to enjoy my weekend with my friends. 1 week later, I got a call from the Bereaved Circle. They told me, you have a meeting next week, and the taxi will come to you at 6 a.m. And I was angry because, first of all, because it's 6 a.m. And I want to sleep. Second of all, because I didn't want to go. Although this week I was thinking about what these stupid people talking about and what they are saying and how they can sit and speak, what to speak about. I thought that it's silly to do something like this. I was curious, but not that curious to go. I called my mother. I was angry. I told her, why you registered me for this? She told me, you said yes. So next day I turned off my phone, obviously, and I was sleeping, enjoying my whole day sleeping. This is my ritual for weekends. And at 5 a.m. she's waking me up, telling me, get ready, the taxi will come anytime soon. So I am kind of person, if I woke up, I can't go back to sleep. So she ruined my weekend. So I decided, okay, I will go. Yes, I was partially forced to go. Yes, I'm always a curious guy. I want to know what people think, what people do, why they're doing this. Not only the Israelis, but also the Palestinians. But I wasn't curious to do this. In the meeting, in the narrative group, the first group, I know they do union nationally before. I missed the union nationally because, I was in the middle. They introduced me in the middle. After the union national, they bring the Israelis alone. They talk about their narrative, introduce them about the organization, and the Palestinian alone, they do the same. Then they meet to each other. So I went to this meeting. I know everything about the organization from my mother, from the call. They told me about it, but they start the circle with introducing each other about themselves. It's a small introduction, just your name, profession, and that's it. And one of the Israelis said, my name is this and this, and I served in the army in 2002 2005. And I couldn't stay in the same room. I left the room. My hands were shivering. I was flushed, sweating. I was very angry. Why I did this, why I am here. And a lot of ideas crossed my mind. Like one of them, maybe this is the one that killed my brother. So I left the room, and when the Palestinian facilitator came after me, and he told me, why you left the room? I told him I can't stay in the same room with this guy. He told me it's not respectful to do so. I told him, I know that, but I can't. And he told me, I told him I can't stay with a soldier in the same room. And he was serving in the occupied territories. And he told me, you know that it's obligatory to go to the army. I told him yes, but I didn't know it will feel like this, to stay in the same room with this guy. I told him I can't stay here. He told me, okay, I will order you a taxi and you can leave. And before coming to us, 3 hours of drive was a lot, but now I know that 3 hour drive is nothing. Back home, 3 hours drive is the ultimate road trip. You can't go further than this. So from Jenin to Bethlehem. So he told me I will ask the taxi to come and you can leave. Eventually, he's not my mother, so he can't force me to stay. I told him okay, and I went to sit, and he asked me, okay, so you are waiting. Why you can't come and join us. Don't speak, just listen. Okay, I told him I'm not afraid. I will come, I will see what you're saying, but I'm not interested. So I entered this group, and the second activity was about talking more about yourself as a person, as a human being. And this guy told about himself that he's living in Tel Aviv, and he's a peace activist, and he's against occupation, against what he saw in the West Bank, and the humiliation, and the checkpoints and everything, home invasions. And just hearing these 2-3 sentences changed my life, because for the first time I saw that there is humans in the other sides, because I never saw the humanity on the other sides. And this was my breakthrough. And since then I was active and still active in the organization. I've been the summer camp manager, facilitator, and also Young Ambassador for Peace member. And this group of young Palestinian and Israelis aged 18 to 30, they have a big commitment to the cause, and one of them was my friend Tamam. He's a nurse like me. He followed my steps, and I was his mentor from telling him which hospital to apply, when to start, where to go, and everything. And he was with us in the summer camp in July 2023. And he was with us in September when we went to the UN to sign a charter for peace with the Palestinian and Israeli kids. Tamam in February 23 got killed by Israeli airstrike in my city, Jenin, when I was here. It's difficult for me to see everything in the news, to not be there. I lived 36 years under occupation, and living here 1 year in DC was the hardest year, not only because of noticing that I wasn't living before, I was surviving. And I remember Tamam telling me after October 7th, because he missed a lot of meetings with the young ambassador for peace. And I told him why we were doing virtually, because we can't meet. And he told me, Muhammad, we are busy now surviving. We don't have time for this. And I told him, I know that, but I am doing like this, surviving like you, but we have a message. We have a shared message, and we should continue. And he told me, when the war is over, I will continue. So he couldn't. Thank you for listening, but I should tell you something that Tamam lived as a peace activist his whole life, and he died as a terrorist. And I think we should honor this kind of work for people that they suffer a lot to be peace activists. I know it's not easy to Leora, it's Leora, and it's not easy for all of us to be peace activists in this situation. And hearing all these stories and enduring this much pain. And I think what gives me hope is that people like you coming here to listen to us and willing to share our stories and our hope, because it won't stop with fighting. It's always stop with peace. And I think this is what should happen. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mohammed. I'm so sorry for your loss too, and you're very right. It's very hard to be a peace activist these days in Israel. You're a traitor in Palestine. You're a normalizer, and everything in between and beyond. I want to leave us some time to take questions, and maybe I'll get us started. Leora, you told me, since we met just a few days ago, was it yesterday? I can't even remember. That something that changed for you since October 7th was that your capacity for empathy has grown, which was somewhat, I don't know if I want to say surprising, but it wasn't what I expected you to say. And I'm curious, this was, I think, the first time you heard Mohammed tell his story. What goes through your mind? How do you feel when you hear him tell his story?
When we share pain, it makes it a bit more bearable. And yes, ever since the 7th of October happened, I found myself in contact with so much pain, the pain of my community, the pain of other people, the pain of my family, the pain of my grandchildren, the pain of my son's brothers and sister. And when you open up to being able to listen to pain, you can also listen to other people's pain. And I can see that because in my community, so many people have lost so much. And I know how much I hurt. And I look at other people in my community and I understand their pain. And it somehow, in some mysterious way, makes it possible for me to listen to Arab, to listen to Muhammad, and be able to connect to the pain that we both feel. And once we connect to the pain, we cannot see each other than human beings, not as a Palestinian or an Israeli, or we're just human beings, and pain connects us.
It's really the power of your pain. It's what you choose to do with it, and you both have chosen to do such tremendous and important work. Mohammed, you said earlier that some of the reactions that you're noticing here in the US are much stronger than anything you even heard in Palestine, like on social media. And obviously, since October 7th, over the past 2 years, this, like I said, has become such an extremely divisive issue. And you've been living here this past year, so tell us what your experience has been about here.
I think it was difficult to understand that one of the things that I have a freedom that my whole family and the friends don't have. I have this tendency to share things about my life for people, things that I do, to share hope. And since I'm in DC, I didn't share. Mostly I didn't share anything because I felt that if I share these things, I will keep, my friends and families more depressed about the situation. So I have a code. I will not share anything with them, like the streets, the roads, the beautiful scenes in these countries, because I think there is a lot of lack of hope in the West Bank. And it was before October 7th and more after October 7th. 300,000 Palestinians working in Israel since October 7th, they are not working anymore. As a Palestinian Authority employee, like myself, I work at the Palestinian Ministry of Health. For 5 years, we didn't get paid more than 50% for 5 years. And now it's like 30%, I know, or something. So the economical situation, the incursions increase, the settlements and everything. So, and when I was there, I was helping people I know, helping people to hospitals, contribute to the community. And me, by sitting here, I feel that I am doing nothing to help the people. And I noticed that there is a lot of extremists here in the US talking about we should finish the job here and we should bring back all the Israelis to Europe. And I think this is not the solution because there is too many Palestinians and too many Israelis in the same place, and we can't erase both. We should work together to a better future and know that here, I am talking in general, there's a military solution for everything. Okay, we don't like this country, let's go solve their problems. But I think not every war is ended by wars. Every war ended by peace, and I think peace should be from the communities, not from the leaders, not from the political parties. And I think people here have commitment to promote peace, not hate, not to be not to be against each other. Be as Ruby always said, that to be pro-peace, not to pro-Palestine, pro-Israel. I think it's also important.
So I think we have time for just a few questions, and there's a mic roving around, so raise your hand. But I want to make a strong request. Please ask a question, so no statements and no pontificating. Please ask your question. Thank you, and to any of us.
Hi, my name is Sarah, and thank you very much, all of you, for being here. This is extremely moving to me and important to me to hear your stories. Your pain is both fresh and older, but it's pain nevertheless, and it lives, unfortunately. What would be the thing, for those of us here in the United States, what would be the best thing that we could do to help your efforts at reconciliation? And because I need it to be reconciled. Yeah. It's very painful, it's very hard.
I think the most important question is, do you know people that know Palestinian and Israelis talking about peace? No, so this is the first task. You should know, and you should tell everyone that you know that there's Palestinians. We are not the only organization. There is a lot of organization. We have also partners that work us here in US and also back home, amplify our voice. And I think wars will not end anything. It's only peace. And this is important. It's come from the people, not from the governments. And I think this is a strong message that you can hold and share it with your friends and family.
As I said before, I think that what we're doing here is throwing a stone to the water, and it spreads. It spreads. You heard us. If you meet other people, you don't even have to tell them, but if you listen to other people, then you can respond maybe in a different way that you would respond if you didn't hear us. And that makes a change, a small change, but it does make a difference.
And I'll give you just a couple of practical suggestions. One, take materials. There's materials about our organization here outside. And we have a program called Listening from the Heart. It's a peace education program that we developed after October 7th in partnership with Georgetown University. It allows anyone to be able to access our members, like you heard these stories that you heard here, online with a facilitator's guide, activities, how to be better listeners, how to listen from your heart, and how to engage around this very divisive topic. So there's information about that as well. Bring that to high schools, bring that to college campuses. There's a lot of communities that have worked with this program. More questions?
Do you have, this is to both of you, by the way, do you have family and friends that aren't able to listen to you about your participation in this organization?
Yeah. For me, no. All my friends knows what I am doing. All my family knows what I am doing, and they believe in what I am doing. I think what is most important is not what we are doing, is not what exactly happening in the Burn Circle as an organization, is what people perceive walking in peace activism. Like, they're not against it. There's many people think that this is not important work, you know. Like one of my friends told me, so can your work stop the military jeeps and bulldozer from bulldozing my street? My street is now 3 meters under the ground. So he like sent me this, kidding with me. And it was his question that it can stop. I told him nothing we will do will stop, but I think at least I can do something that will bring good, or something that I hope will bring good. I knew that physically there's a lot of things should have to change, but we can't change everything. But at least I will do, and what we do in the summer camp and what we do in the Burn Circle in our activities, we do a crack in the wall, and this is one of the most important things. And every activities we do, it's a life-changing event. If I change one person for being a better person for me, it's like changing the whole world. And I think one of the most important things we do, and I witnessed in the summer camp, it's the miracle of seeing in 1 week the transformation of the kids. From these kids talking about killing, fighting, about having our own freedom, having our own country, to kids talking about the humanity and respecting each other. And this is what we do in the summer camp and other activities, that people will start to listen from the heart and to start to understand there is human beings. What's happened to me in the Narrative project happens to many other people. And I think this is one of the most important things.
I can only add to that yes, I know that for many people in Israel, they do seek revenge after what happened to us on the 7th of October. But I must admit that I almost dedicate my time to speak with teenagers, mainly high school graduates, telling them that the law requires them to draft into the army in the next few months right after they finish high school. I urge them to keep their values, to remember that there are people on both sides of the border, and that we need to retain our values and to be humane. And this is the only way to keep hope. That's what I do, and it's not easy, and it's not easy for a lot of people to listen to me in Israel, but I insist on talking. I insist because if I can change one heart, then I did what I can do.
One last question.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. My question is, honestly, you started by saying that you're the only organization that hopes the ranks will not grow. I wonder if, can you tell us, do you have a feeling that the people that believe what you believe in are increasing? Just give us some kind of an update, because from here there is, when you have these kind of ideas, there is a tremendous sense of loneliness. And I wonder, can you tell us, in light of your stories, are there more people that start to change their minds and believe in what you believe, all of us believe in? Thank you.
I'm not sure that people are changing their minds. I think some of them are beginning to think about reality in maybe another perspective. I'm talking to, I want to say thousands for the last 2 years, thousands of teenagers. This is what I do, okay? I go tell my story to everybody, and whoever invites me to the school, to the high schools, that's what I do. And a lot of people come to me afterwards and say to me, you give me hope. I have something to hold on to. And some other people tell me that they think I'm crazy. And I tell them, okay, I know who I am, but do you know who you are?
Okay, I said last question, but last question. Here in the second or third row.
I wasn't going to ask this question, but since it's come up, sort of, I'm going to ask it. First of all, thank you for being here. Robbie, I've been following you for a million years. No, since 60 years, 60, yeah. Yes, I'm honored to be here. Being here, it's very hard to have the hope that you have. It's very hard as a Jew who grew up in a Zionist home, who found out the truth. And what I keep trying to find out is, and if it's not, if you don't want to answer this, I understand it's a negative question. I need to know, I want to know. I read one day that most of the Israelis want peace. And then the next day I read 80% of Israelis don't want peace, or they don't want a two-state solution. And I don't believe anything anymore. I just don't know. Honestly, I try to be positive, but anything that comes out of Hasbara is, it can't be trusted. And it's especially hard when you see people like you and the sacrifices that you make, knowing that it's the problem of the leadership there and here with people who really don't care about lives and only care about power and money. So that's my question.
So I'm going to answer as an American. There was a lot in there, so I'm not sure I know the question exactly, but I heard a lot of what you said. I think we don't have the right to give up hope. We don't have the right to not keep trying because we're thousands of miles away. The conflict is between Israelis and Palestinians. These people have paid the highest price for the conflict, have survived terrible tragedies, and are sitting here and are working endlessly and tirelessly, and if they can do it, then we have to do it. We don't have the right to give up if they can do it. And so we have to go on.
I have something to add because I felt the same being here. I felt less hope by being here, not inside the conflict. One of the most important things that I noticed, and my brother told me about it, when you've been outside the events, you always feel more emotional. When you are inside the events, less emotional, more practical. And I think this is what's happened to the people here. They are feeling like crazy, there's no hope, everyone wants to kill everyone, the situation is so bad. It's always like this. It's like the rate of killing increase on both sides, but it's always been the same. And I think the most important thing that we should find hope everywhere. For myself, I found hope from you being here and listening to us and willing to share our stories. And I think you also should have hope from seeing us sitting to each other and talking about our loss. And like after having these tragedies and loss, and there's a new loss here that it's so near that I spent 3 years in the Parent Circle. Then, after 3 years, I talked for the first time about my story, my personal story, my loss. And she talked about her personal story in 2 years, hundreds of times. And I think this is one of the hopes that comes from what's happening now. And we have now 900 members, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
So thank you for being here. Did you want to add anything? No. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.